zone. A barrage of bullets and the flash of gunfire. It's a drive-by shooting at night. The target, a home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Authorities say it's linked to a feud between local high school students. You see 3 teenagers get out of 2 cars, then unleash an estimated 150 bullets. That's right, 150 rounds of ammunition. What resulted is horrific. This 3-year-old boy, Isaiah Figueroa, was killed while sleeping in his bedroom. His great-grandmother is speaking to Inside Edition.
Every time I just think about it, the way he died, the way he got shot in the head, laying there asleep, it really hurts a lot because I don't understand why they did such a terrible thing.
Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles became emotional as she called for an end to the violence.
We beg actually, that you step up as a community and help us make sure that these losses do not continue to occur.
An 8-year-old boy in New Jersey accidentally shoots and kills himself after finding a gun in his home. It happened at around 10:30 last night in Newark, and so far, no charges have been filed. Anthony Johnson is live outside police headquarters in Newark with more. Anthony?
Well, Sade, investigators are saying that this is going to be a complicated investigation because of family issues, and that family is dealing with a horrible tragedy. Family members were still very upset following the tragedy late last night.
We're not talking to nobody. Hey, move.
An 8-year-old boy living in a second-floor apartment got his hands on a gun, and it accidentally discharged, killing the child. The incident has been under investigation by the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. They are still trying to determine who owned the gun and who left it out, making it easy for the child to find. Family members were traumatized when emergency vehicles arrived on the scene last night. The 8-year-old was described by neighbors as a friendly child who would often come outside whenever the ice cream truck came around. The child loved to ride on his scooter. The 8-year-old boy has not yet been officially identified, as authorities say the case involves some custody issues. The family has not been on the block long, according to some residents living in the 100 block of Schuyler Avenue. And there has been some noted tension in the family. Authorities are not saying if the gun was illegal, but it is another example of the dangers of having a weapon unlocked inside a home when children are present. And investigators are still trying to determine who owned that gun involved in this tragedy. That is
the family's plea for answers. Somebody shot and killed the 22-year-old man whose body was found in his own home earlier this week. Relatives say they have no idea who could have done this. All they tell News Edge reporter Rob D'Arienzo is they're begging for anybody with information to come forward.
22-year-old Jonathan McWilliams' family is still in a complete state of shock. They called us because they still have no idea who shot and killed him in his own bedroom. They're hoping that someone who's watching right now may be able to help.
He shot my baby in the head.
Paulette Smith came home from work one day earlier this week to any mother's absolute worst nightmare.
When I came home from work, it's about 6 o'clock, I found Demi's room shot and dead.
Jonathan McWilliams was shot twice in the back of the head at his family's home on the 200 block of Murrow Road in Clayton County on Tuesday. He leaves behind 2 young children, a 4-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter, still far too young to understand her father's loss.
He ain't never been in no trouble. He ain't never did nothing to nobody. And he just didn't deserve to die. He got babies he had to be here for.
Smith said her son kept to himself and didn't have any enemies. She's hoping someone in the Laurel Point apartment complex saw something that can help bring her son's killer to justice.
We need the public who know, because somebody know who came in here and murdered my baby.
McWilliams' girlfriend says she just wants anyone who knows anything in the neighborhood to come forward. They're offering a $2,000 reward.
Just want everybody to speak up. We need to know, somebody knows something.
His mother says she will not give up until her son's killer is in handcuffs.
I'm not going away.
Being shot multiple times. It happened around 1 a.m. on Marwood Drive. According to the Jackson Police Department, a 19-year-old man was shot multiple times by an unknown suspect and was taken to a local hospital. The teen died from his injuries, sadly. The second victim, a 15-year-old boy, was also shot multiple times by an unknown suspect and was taken to the hospital where he is luckily in stable condition.
And her young grandson are in critical condition after a hit and run in New Jersey. Prosecutors say the 56-year-old woman and her 3-year-old grandson were crossing Tennell Avenue and 46th Street in North Bergen when a car hit them and took off. It happened shortly after midnight. Police say the victims are now fighting for their lives at Jersey City Medical Center. Investigators, meanwhile, are looking for the driver, who was believed to have been in a mid-sized sedan.
His daughter from gunfire earlier this week. Travell Miller was driving his 7-year-old to school when he was killed. Police say the two were stopped in traffic when a gunman just walked up and began shooting. Miller's mother says that she was on the phone with him at the time.
To hear my son killed, I would not wish that on anybody, to hear their son being killed. My life will never be the same. I can never get that call out of my head.
Police released clear images of the man they believe fired into Miller's car. Take a look here. The suspect was driving this silver Pontiac Grand Prix, 2-door with tinted windows and no plates. A $4,000 cash reward is being offered for information leading to an arrest and conviction.
Now this video right here is showing a dude stealing a trombone from the subway, man. What the hell he gonna do with a trombone? He can't play it. Jake just...
A shootout between two suspects in...
Salaki, I had to stop it, man. Jake is just ridiculous, man. Gonna steal somebody's trombone. Jake just wanna steal just to steal, man. Well, he gonna sell a trombone? He ain't gonna get no money for that. Oh, the elder came out with something? Okay. He ain't gonna get no money for that trombone, but he wanna sit there and steal somebody's trombone, man. It's ridiculous. Shalakia for the rant.
Harlem leaves 2 people hurt, including an innocent bystander. It happened last night just before 10 o'clock on Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 131st Street. One of the alleged shooters, a 15-year-old boy, is stable at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. Investigators say during the shootout, the teenager shot a 34-year-old cab driver in the head as he sat in his vehicle. He is in critical condition at Mount Sinai. Police say they're still looking for the other shooter.
News this morning of a man shot while riding in a car. Police say the shooting happened here in Hamlin and Lawndale. This is Logan Square. They say 2 people riding motorcycles pulled up alongside a car, opened fire on a car, and then sped off. A 22-year-old in the back seat was shot in the back of his head. It is now in critical condition. Police are still searching for the shooters.
CBS 46 Crime Alert. Tonight, a manhunt is underway for a gunman who left 7 people hurt in downtown Athens. No students were injured, and the search for the suspect continues. CBS 46's Tori Cooper is in Athens with more on the investigation and reward.
Yeah, the mother from Clark County that I spoke to tonight says that she is lucky to be alive after what unfolded here on the corner of Clayton Street in downtown Athens last night. She says 3 bullets grazed her family members.
Never been in nothing like this before in my life.
It was supposed to be a family football game day in the heart of downtown Athens.
It was a terrible night. We didn't ask for that.
But instead of celebrating a win for the UGA Dogs, Libby Arnold says she nearly lost 3 of her family members while they were leaving a restaurant on Clayton Street.
The bullet ricocheted my son's side. It hit him on his side. It ricocheted from my nephew in his inner thigh, and then hit my daughter's best friend.
Arnold's son, nephew, and family friend were 3 of the 7 people who police say were injured during a shooting last night. Detectives say shortly after a fight broke out, they believe 21-year-old Pharrell Williams walked up and started shooting.
We don't feel like that this was a random act where, you know, the general public is at risk. Again, we think he was involved with the parties that were in this altercations.
Libby says her family did not know the gunman and didn't get a good look at him because they were nearly trampled by a large crowd of people fleeing gunfire. Business owners in the area assisting police with camera footage, now vowing to beef up security.
As far as business owners downtown, this coming up weekend, we're going to increase security everywhere and make sure all of our patrons.
Story tonight, 4 bodies, including 2 young children, found inside a home following a fire this morning. That home located on Imogene Street near Sharpstown High School. Houston police believe all the victims had been shot. David Gonzalez has the latest.
Houston police says their investigation is far from over, but they suspect domestic violence to be involved. Chief Troy Finner says a crime like this is especially hard because it involves innocent children.
I'm angry about it. I'm angry when anybody loses their life in our city to violence, but especially angry when it's small kids. They hadn't even lived their lives, and it's just not fair.
Caution tape blocks off a portion of the neighborhood on Imogene Streets in southwest Houston after a gruesome discovery.
It's just really sad. It's Sunday morning, on a holiday weekend. I want people to pray for the family.
Houston Police Chief Troy Finner says the bodies of 2 adults, a man and a woman, and 2 kids, a boy and a girl around 10 and 13 years old, were found inside the home. He says they had been shot. Houston Fire was first called shortly after 8 a.m. due to a fire at the home.
That's normal what some suspects do. They try to destroy evidence and whatnot by setting a fire, but I don't think it worked to their benefit right now.
The chief says there's no signs of forced entry. He doesn't think this was a random act of violence and suspects domestic violence. Finner says this type of violence can take a toll on first responders.
Officers and citizens ask me this all the time. Our fire department, our police officers, our crime scene units, we have to process these things, and it gets tough. Everybody has kids, or you know young kids.
Houston police is asking for prayers for those who will have to mourn the loss of their loved one. Right now, police say they need your help, so if you have any information that can help authorities, you're urged to call Houston Police or Crime Stoppers at 713.
Otto's wife and family are distraught over his death. They blame the NYPD for killing an innocent, unarmed man.
He didn't have no firearm. His hands were up. And that cop still chose to be reckless.
But Pix11 obtained surveillance video that tells a different story. First, you see a group of people arguing in front of a bodega at the corner of Valentine Avenue and 180th Street in the Fordham Heights section of the Bronx. It's around 4:30 Sunday morning. That argument escalates, and you can see Michael Rosado firing shots in the air. 2 off-duty NYPD officers hear the shots, and they respond. Rosado fires at the officers. They return fire, hitting the 24-year-old in his torso. The entire time, the gun is exchanging hands between Rosado and his father, Rafael. Rafael is also seen firing at the officers, ducking down behind a car. At one point, Rosado stumbles and falls to the ground. His father, Rafael, now has the gun. He leaves the scene, but comes back. In all, police say 8 rounds were fired at the officers. City Council member and Democratic candidate for Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson also watched the video.
He pointed a weapon at police officers. He intended to shoot a police officer, and that will never end well. The police officers responded in the way that they were trained, and they did what they needed to do. And then his father was also engaging with police officers as well.
Still, the community believes the outcome should have been different.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
The video is evidence in a full investigation. As far as Rafael Rosado, Michael's father, he has at least 60 prior arrests and is now charged in this shooting. Police say the officers identified themselves and repeatedly ordered the men to put their weapons down. Both sides agree the shooting was a tragedy, and it could have been a lot worse.
You gotta see this. A gang of suspected robbers took hostages and strapped these people to their getaway cars as human shields, basically.
That's
to the
some
top of their
Dark Knight
cars.
shit right there.
Rafael Romo reports that the criminals used bombs that also tried to distract police.
It sounds like something out of a movie, but it happened in reality, and the video CNN has obtained from Brazilian authorities is shocking. It shows innocent civilians strapped to cars. They were tied up by robbers who carried out a series of deadly bank heists using those civilians as human shields. This happened in the city of Aracatuba, located in Sao Paulo State, Brazil. Police say very early Monday morning, the robbers first positioned bombs all over the city to distract officers so that they could rob the banks. The bombs were detonated, and tragically, one of them caused serious injury to a man who lost both of his feet in the blast, according to authorities. Police say that while this was happening, the criminals hit 3 different banks at the same time, taking multiple people hostage. Then they tied the hostages to the roofs and hoods of 10 cars to be used as human shields. Altogether, officials say 3 people died, including 2 hostages and 1 suspected robber. There were 5 other people injured and 2 suspects were detained by police. More than 380 police officers were subsequently deployed as part of an operation to catch more than a dozen suspects who remain at large. And classes were suspended at schools around the city for the day. Rafael
Investigating an overnight shooting that left multiple people injured. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard joins us live from 12th and Racine. And Hannah, police are still on the scene.
They are, Deanna. They are downsizing their footprint out here along 12th and Racine, but you can see they still have their major crimes unit vehicle out here. And then this is really where they've had their center of attention during this entire investigation. This yellow home they're towing away. We've seen 2 cars now towed away here from the scene, but neighbors and also police radio scanner indicates a barrage of bullets that came through here early this morning. Take a listen to the Racine County Sheriff's Office scanner traffic as they got that first call.
Channel 1 squad. City State report of shots fired, 12th and Highland. Looks like 20 to 30 shots heard. Saw a male running down an alley, unknown description, unknown which way.
Now, Racine police say the call first came in just after midnight. Once here, they say they found, quote, numerous individuals with gunshot wounds. First responders took multiple people to the hospital, but police right now will not confirm just how many people were injured in this shooting. A man who lives nearby did not want to be identified this morning, but tells me he heard that gunfire.
First it was a loud rapid fire, then it was a small pause, and then more rapid fire. So about 25 to 30 shots that I heard.
And what'd you do?
I went inside, told my fiance, and we actually took the kids down on the floor so nothing bad happened.
Did anything happen?
No.
It was a deadly weekend in the district after a mass shooting in Northwest claimed multiple lives.
Officials are reaching out now to the community for help ending the ongoing violence that we've been seeing in the city. Fox 5's Maureen Ume is live this morning outside of police headquarters with the latest. And Maureen, it was certainly an unfortunate and a disturbing trend that we're seeing.
That's right. It seems every weekend we have these shootings, these mass shootings right now, 13 so far in the district this year, which is really an unheard of number. The chief of police, as well as other leaders here in the city, trying to get a handle on this, but so far it appears it's not really working. Right now, this morning, involving that mass shooting you talked about, there is a lookout for a Honda Accord, a dark-colored Honda Accord. It's got tinted windows and chrome-colored wheels. That's the best that we know right now. Police are hoping that surveillance cameras from neighbors in that particular neighborhood also captured more images that might help them solve this case. We're understanding from the Ward 4 council member that there is significant footage that investigators do have to go on. So we're expecting that there might be an arrest sooner or later in this case, or at least people brought in for questioning regarding the shooting that happened on Saturday. Let's take you to the scene. It was very chaotic. This all happened Saturday evening, just after 7:30 p.m. on the corner of 7th Street and Longfellow Street in the Brightwood area. Police say that it appears people got up the Honda Accord, started firing shots down the block. The Ward 4 council member says in a statement that this was a neighborhood crew that was fighting each other. 6 people were hit by bullets. 3 of them died. The victims have been identified as a 31-year-old woman from Northeast, a 24-year-old man from Northwest, and a 37-year-old man from Northeast. 3 other people have also been hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. MPD Police Chief Robert Conti says this ongoing violence is simply frustrating.
It's very frustrating, and we've been talking about gun violence for a long time. We know that this issue is not unique to Washington, D.C., but I think it speaks to the overall sickness that we're seeing in our community.
A stalled-out Jeep sitting in the middle of Capitol Drive just before noon, surrounded by police. The 23-year-old woman who'd been driving shot to death behind the wheel. Witness Mohammed Abu Asi saw the whole thing, and surveillance video backs him up as a car pulled up alongside the Jeep and fired into it before driving off. The Jeep then slowly rolled into the intersection.
These two cars came in, they came parallel to each other over here, then all of a sudden 2 shots, and the other car fled.
And did the person who was driving say anything, do anything?
I didn't could tell.
The video shows a male passenger in the Jeep jump out and frantically run to the driver's side, going back and forth as some traffic stopped and other vehicles kept going past. Another witness who didn't want to be identified told me the man was shouting for help, screaming, "They just shot her." Were you concerned, scared, worried when you heard the shots?
I'm concerned every day because this happens every night over here.
Milwaukee police say they're asking for help from the public for anyone else who may have seen the shooting or know who was inside this white car, possibly a Camry or Impala, seen driving up to the Jeep and driving off after the shots were fired.
Nick joining us again. Now, Nick, are police able to say whether this appeared to be a targeted shooting or possibly a case of road rage or something else?
Toya, the man that we see in the video who got out of the Jeep there and was running around was kept at the scene for several hours here before leaving in the back of a squad car. Police just telling me in the last few minutes right now, when I asked for more information, they said simply it was not a random shooting, but they continue to investigate a motive.
Nick Moore reporting live. Thank you.
A cab driver and a 15-year-old boy critically wounded. Police say the teen standing outside the vehicle got into an argument with an unidentified man inside the car. That man fired several shots, hitting the teen in the torso and the 24-year-old cab driver in the head. Both are now in critical condition. So far, no arrests. The NYPD releasing surveillance images of several people they now want to talk to.
Turning to the pen.
Of interest in this shooting, a black Honda Accord. Take a look at this picture that DC police just put out not too long ago from CCTV. They believe the shooter or shooters may...
We do begin with that breaking news at a popular downtown Houston hotel. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Gutierrez.
Hello, I'm Dominique Soxa. 2 people have been killed in an apparent murder-suicide at the Marriott Marquis Hotel. This shooting happened around 3:30 in the afternoon, right there in the lobby of the hotel off of Walker and Crawford Streets. KPRC2's Roseanne Aragon live from the scene with the newest information in this investigation tonight. Roseanne?
Right, Houston police tell us this was not random. The 2 people involved had some type of relationship, and the focus at this hour is determining what that relationship was. This is what the extensive law enforcement presence looks outside the Marriott Marquis Hotel lobby after Houston police found 2 bodies there this afternoon. When they arrived, they found the body of the gunman, a man in his late 30s, and the body of the woman who was shot, a woman in her late 20s. Police got the call around 3:30 and say the shooting happened in the lobby. The investigation reveals the man had come in, shot the woman, then shot himself from a short distance, causing panic. Witnesses in the hotel lobby tell us they heard 2 gunshots and were directed by hotel management to go by the pool. Others ran outside. Police described this as a murder-suicide. The 2 were familiar and perhaps guests, police say. HPD says they drove in separately and brought luggage inside. Police are now asking for prayers for the families of the people who died and say this tragedy happened in the heart of this great city.
This is not a random event. I think it's a relationship. There's no other danger to anybody at this moment. And as I said, I want to pray for the victims, but also it's incumbent on us as a police department, as the city of Houston, as businesses, to get it back up and running. And that's what we're in the process of doing an investigation, doing a complete investigation, but getting this business.
West Dallas boy who died of an apparent knife wound. The medical examiner also ruled Hank Brown Rockow's death as homicide. Police late this afternoon announced an adult female is in custody. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard takes us to 73rd and Lapham, where police are trying to piece together what happened.
Check welfare 1578 South 73, 1578 South 73. Child fell on a knife with an abdomen wound. Child's not alert.
It's the call that came in just before 3 p.m. Monday and drew this emergency response on South 73rd in West Dallas.
Had the couple police cars sitting in front of the house and one of the cars from the fire department, and just didn't know what was going on.
Police say once there, they found a 6-year-old boy with what they described as a, quote, possible knife wound to his stomach. The child later died at the hospital. At the home of the original call Tuesday, no one answered.
It's tough. My daughter is around the same age, so I can't imagine as a parent what that would feel like.
As West Dallas police continue their investigation, it's the medical examiner calling this a homicide and says the autopsy is now scheduled for Wednesday. Those in the area say they're neighborly, but don't know the family involved very well.
I certainly never heard anything that would indicate that a child was in danger, which, of course, I hope that this really was an accident.
In West Dallas, Hannah Hilliard, WISN 12 News.
Police have not said how the boy was injured. They denied our request for an interview today.
And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.